Banner of Baby AngelGeronimo Manifesto for animals and humans. We are changing the words because previously we called it for animals and society. But then on the latest evidence, animals and humans seems to be more in keeping with the requirements, objective ethical requirements of parity. Now, Sunday Times newspaper, of course, this is 11 o'clock GMT in the evening, and the Sunday Times article published in the morning has been, of course, superseded by a latest statement from the evilness called Kami Bad Enoch. Kami Bad Enoch has said that the chairman of the post office, Henry Staunton, who was sacked as the chairman of the post office last month, paints a depressing, if illuminating, picture of officialdom's true approach to the Horizon IT scandal. Now, I'm going to read almost all of that editorial, and I shall explain after reading that piece in full why I'm reading this in full. So let's read that from the beginning. Henry Staunton, the businessman, sacked as chairman of the post office last month, paints a depressing, if illuminating picture of officialdom's true approach to the Horizon IT scandal. In an interview today, remember this reference to today is to be read as today in the morning of Sunday, 12 hours ago, more than 12 hours ago, nearly 16 hours ago. In an interview today, Staunton simply lays out what happened during his time in charge. He says he was told by a senior civil servant to go slow on paying compensation to postmasters wrongly convicted over accounting glitches. He claims he was told that the government wanted to limp into the election without incurring a huge bill. Staunton says the process to compensate and exonerate victims was going absolutely nowhere until ITV aired its drama Mr. Bates versus the Post Office over the new year, at which point the dam broke. There are many guilty parties in the Post Office scandal. Paula Vanells, the former chief executive, who handed back her CBE award last month, was rightly castrated. I'll read that again. Paula Vanells, the former chief executive, who handed back her CBE award last month, was rightly castigated. But behind the executives who let the sub-postmasters down is an array of back-passing ministers, mandarins, and bodies such as UK government investments, which manages taxpayer stake in assets like the post office. For years, these people maintained A consensus. Sub-postmasters must be guilty because Fujitsu's system said so, and anything that might incur a financial liability, such as pausing to consider whether mistakes had been made, was wrong. A consensus like that is powerful. It was what kept the machinery of post office prosecutions turning long after the warning signs were there for all to see. In exposing the incompetence of the political class, Henry Staunton has simply confirmed what many have long suspected about the Whitehall establishment. Now that's the end of the editorial, which is headed Former Post Office Head's Salvo Exposes Cynicism of Officialdom. Now this piece is unusual, not because it is telling the truth, but it is pretending to be telling the truth, but it is, even the pretense is unprecedented. And the word that I am focusing on is consensus. Consensus to maintain corruption. Consensus to refuse to pay the compensation to the wrongly prosecuted and harassed and humiliated and bullied and traumatized postmasters and postmistresses. The Sunday Times criminals leave out the mistresses, like the woman called Sima Misra, who was sent to jail when she was 8 months pregnant. Now the consensus of criminals, ministers, and departmental so-called civil servants is what exists as DEFRA. The DEFRA criminals hounding Helen MacDonald for daring to stand by baby AngelGeronimo, the perfectly innocent baby AngelGeronimo. It is the consensus that not only contaminates so-called Whitehall, but it is the consensus that infects the entire culture in the House of Commons, in the executive, in the media and the judiciary. And the two criminals, High Court judges so-called, Griffiths and Murray, were exhibited as serving as rubber stamps for the lying consensus of the DEFRA criminals against baby AngelGeronimo. Now I said about the superseding of the article in the Sunday Times by Kemi Bad Enoch by now. And Kemi Bad Enoch has apparently hit back at Henry Staunton's claims in the Sunday Times. Now Kemi Bad Enoch is an evil personification, lying, mental slave shit. This mental slave shit is being promoted by one group of conservative MPs as a savior of the sinking conservatives. And this shit is the one that could be found as the nearest equivalent to the terrible P-lips. Although she comes from Nigeria, the Christian background, Kemi Bad Enoch is an evil Enoch eviler than the original Enoch Powell, the criminal racist liar. So the baby angel Geronimo manifesto for animals and humans is going to take into account all the aspects of this exchange between Kemi Bad Enoch and Henry Staunton. Now, the Department of Business is a corrupt department, corrupt beyond description, corrupt beyond condemnation. It is the department that is supposedly responsible for all the bankruptcies, etc., etc. But it is itself has always been bankrupt. One of the early lib dum kind of participants in the corrupt condemn coalition was Vince the moron Cable as business secretary. And that shitbag did his bits to perpetrate the ongoing harassment of the innocent postmistresses and postmasters. And he was imitated by Ed the Cunt Davy, the shitbag who also succeeded Vince Cable as leader of the Lib Dums. So the lessons from the latest updates on the post office scandal include the facts that ministers tell lies, civil servants tell lies, MPs tell lies, government ministers tell lies, prime ministers tell lies, and judges in the High Court tell lies. When Helen MacDonald was faced with the almost hourly challenge, accumulating challenges, one challenge after another being heaped on the previous mountains of challenges created by the liars in the DEFRA department and their apologists, she actually suffered post-traumatic stress disorder, which got worse. Now, the fact that the London mayor, or the mayor at the expense of London, is reportedly suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder because of death threats that he has been receiving. Now, this man has got several layers of bodyguards and other people guarding him for security. Now, compared to Sadiq Khan, Helen MacDonald didn't have any bodyguard. She was guarding the baby angel Geronimo. As the fake, I would say, and I distinguish me from Helen MacDonald because she has not said it, but I'm saying it. Most of the people who visited at the height of the reporting about baby angel Geronimo in the second part of 2021, most of the people who visited were genuine but ineffectual. Just like the Sunday Times article, the editorial, it's sympathetic to Henry Staunton and the postmistress and postmasters, but it is not going any further than that. For example, the Sunday Times editorial, whoever writes these moronic pieces, is childish, infantile. It doesn't deal with the fundamental unfitness for purpose. The fundamental unfitness for purpose from which the entire British state suffers includes these organs that I regularly list: the judiciary, the media, the House of Commons, House of Lords, House of Peers, ministers, and government, and the political parties. All these organs are corrupt, infected with corruption and criminality. And again, updating on the murderous cruelty to animals, one university has witnessed posh boys and posh girls parading a dead animal in the last week. But this is the report in the last 24 hours. And the Star on Sunday today reports that one animal was persecuted in a zoo and punished and tortured by human beings. Who are the zookeepers? So they say that Britain is a country of animal lovers. Fuck them! Shits! Now suddenly, this son of a mental slave, son of a Pakistani father and white mother, is criminal shit. Matthew Saeed has discovered morality, this shitbag. He's a complete fucking liar. He said Navalny's moral courage is a rebuke not just to Russia, but to all of us. Fuck you, you fucking lying shit. Mental slave. He's saying, and he's saying this based on the evidence of Putin's Russia, where the elite has captured the state or society. The true danger for a society is not the wrong rate of taxation, but elite capture. Oh, you fucking shit. You are part of the elite fucking shit. The publication called Private Lie, edited by the midget Ian Pissoff, boasts that it is the most highly circulated British magazine, political magazine. I'll come to that in a minute. Matheside, this pretending fucking cunt, pretended initially to be a Labour Party politician. He even stood unsuccessfully for election to become an MP. But since that adventure, he is a hireling. He has been appearing as a commentator. And every single comment this cunt makes is a comment that suits the British elite. Even this one, the use of elite at the expense of Russia and Putin, is as part of the narrative scripted by the elite in Britain. That is how sick-makingly dishonest this Matthew shit is. Now the Daily Star, Daily Star on Sunday is talking about animal cruelty. But they didn't, noticeably, they didn't run anything like the big piece that they have on the front page today. When the baby angel Geronimo was in the news based on the various exchanges between Helen MacDonald and the liars at DEFRA and the liar Boris Johnson and others. Private Lie, which I was talking about, claims to be the most highly circulated magazine in Britain. It technically is, but what is the content? What is the actual line? What is the actual contribution of Private Lie on the rampant corruption, unfitness for purpose, and criminality, and the elite captures? As the midget boasted outside the High Court in London in the Strand, when he colluded with the legal establishment in order to undermine the possible litigants in defamation. When he did that, he did actually have the purpose, which was to stop the Private Lie being forced to pay hundreds of thousands of pounds in defamation costs. And I think that the role that the midget played in capitulating to the legal establishment and in undermining the litigation or undermining the access to defamation litigation by ordinary people has meant that defamation action has become even more difficult. Defamation action has become even more difficult than it was before. Just like the midget played a significant role in undermining the Levison recommendations. Now, the Levison recommendations, Levison Part 1, were already too weak. Despite the fact that the weak recommendations by Brian Levison contrasted significantly to the very powerful bits of evidence about media corruption that came across during the hearing. So Private Lie has been campaigning against Levison and has been completely corrupt in hiding the facts surrounding the acquittal of Rebecca Brooks. Murdoch's actual mistress at Wapping. Murdoch's mole. So despite the fact that Private Lie boasts about being the highest circulated political magazine and also says that it discloses many exclusive items about the various maladministration, etc., in British institutions, it doesn't actually tell the truth. For example, the column or the page called Rotten Boroughs is so corrupt, so pathetic. In the face of extremely compelling evidence about corruption in Croydon Council, Private Lie, Rotten Boroughs completely failed to point out that the answer to the corruption by the Labour-controlled council over many years, the answer was not to impose a corrupting elected mayor post on Croydon. And that is only typical. In the case of Tower Hamlets, the fucking crooks have given up. There is absolutely nothing in Private Lie about the corruption by Lutfur Rahman since the return of the fraudster at the 2022 election. And he has been abusing, he has been lying, especially including the fact that Shamsul Haq, the proven liar and chairman for many years of the Tower Hamlets Council of Mosques, has been given hundreds of thousands of pounds by Tower Hamlets Council, despite the fact that he was publicly exposed as a liar on the record during the hearings before Richard Morey. So Shamsul Haq is a spiritual liar, as are the others who have actually been part of the gang that Lutfur Rahman has been erected as a scaffolding. And contrasted with that, the Labour Party in Tower Hamlets is more dead than it was already. As I have posted, the election to Tower Hamlets Council in 1990 of the largest number of Bangladeshi origin individuals as Labour Party candidates was not a victory for any campaign against racism. That election was a victory for crooks. The crooks gathered together and decided to put forward the largest number of Bangladeshi origin candidates by falsely claiming that these candidates somehow played real roles against racism in the years after the racist murders of Altavali in Tower Hamlets and 2 months later Obishak Ali in Hackney. These candidates did not play a real role against racism. And the fact that they didn't is not a hypothesis that I'm making. The fact that they didn't actually have any anti-racist agenda while they were councillors is evident in the absence of any record, any absence of any actual record of their opposing racism in council meetings, in council policy making. Now that takes us back to the Lib Dems appearance in 1986. For the first time, they were called the SDP Lib Dems, but they can be called Lib Dems retrospectively. They became, for the first time, elected controlling group on Tower Hamlets Council, mainly because the Labour Party had lost all contact with the reality of the community in Tower Hamlets. That was 1986. And at the 1990 election, although the Bangladeshis got elected, the Lib Dems got elected as well, again, for the second time. And the Lib Dems stayed for another term in power. And during that period, those who became elected with the Bangladeshi origin or Bangladeshi background failed to show that they understood the actual impact of racism, and they understood the impact of racism of the council and how the racist council affected and influenced the murderers of Altavali and Ishaq Ali. When in July 1978, at the Montefiore Center, I made a historic identification of the racist criminal Paul Beasley and pointed my finger at him and called him a racist, mainly responsible for the racist atmosphere of Tower Hamlets. Such identification of a racist had never happened by anyone at any time. This was one of the many historic events that I created. And what was Paul Beasley's fan base? Paul Beasley was actually entertaining a number of Bangladeshis, so-called youth leaders, while the actual council, I'm talking about 1978, the actual Tower Hamlets Council which he fronted was pursuing racist policies. Now 1978, 1988, 10 years, 1998, 20 years, 2008, 30 years, 2018, 40 years. And this is now 46 years ago. 46 years ago, and 46 years have passed since the racist murder of Altavali and racist murder of Ishakali in Hackney at the same year. And the Timeless Council remains racist. Timeless Council remains racist, except that the superficial facial representation of the council is one of diversity. But it's only superficial, pigmentational, skin color representation which is diversity. The essential policies remain racist, anti-Bangladeshi, anti-diversity, pro-racist, and anti-society, anti-accountability. Timeless Council is one of the now 5 London councils that are lumbered with the additional corruption, the corrupting post of elected mayor, Hackney, Newham, Tower Hamlets, Lewisham, and the latest one being Croydon. And the news today, Sunday, shows that Starmer suddenly is aware of a thing called ceasefire. Now, Starmer, the political murderer of the Labour Party, has been complicit in the genocide of thousands and thousands of Palestinians by the Zionist State of Israel. And Starmer has refused to pay heed to the call for ceasefire. How come that Starmer has suddenly woken up and is calling for ceasefire in Gaza? The answer is that the liar has understood that the impact of his complicity with the genocidal murders and massacres of Palestinian Muslims by the Zionist State of Israel is bound to give serious problems as and when an election happens. Significant numbers of Labour Party parliamentary candidates risk being replaced by other parties or even by the Conservatives. So he is now staged another U-turn after the climate change 28 billion U-turn, and he is prepared to recognize the existence of the SNP. Now that shows the Starmer is a liar, opportunist, liar, unfit for purpose, and a criminal. And this criminal behaved to form. When he was asked about baby AngelGeronimo's innocence, this criminal supported Boris Johnson, the murderer, and DEFRA criminals, and he gave an opinion against baby AngelGeronimo. As did the proven criminal liar West Streeting, who is destroying the NHS as a shadow health secretary. Now, West treating is of course secretly being briefed by Tony Blair, because Tony Blair is funded by American interests. Hundreds of millions of pounds have been donated to Tony Blair by American interests. And Tony Blair wants the NHS abolished bit by bit. He wants the NHS sanctity, privacy of patients' records and files to be made available to American business. So the framework of the commentary about baby AngelGeronimo Manifesto is this: that constant vigilance is the price of liberty. And what is happening in the case of the UK state? Is that there is no guarantee whatsoever for any kind of due process, rule of law, honesty, fitness for purpose for any of the ordinary people. It's the criminals elite that have captured parts of the state. It's not just Russia, but United Kingdom as well. So we shall be continuing on this theme in the editions to come. This is 42 minutes, well, 43 minutes, and we are ending this particular part B, at 23:48 hours GMT on Sunday, 18th of February 2024.